Good day to you, our viewers and listeners. And today I've got my colleague, as you have heard, Heavens, and thanks so much, Heavens, for joining us, for being part of this conversation. We are just looking at is COVID, is foster care an essential service during this part of the pandemic or during COVID-19 period. And as one of the senior management team in Banya, I can only say to you that, foster care is really, really critical. And like most of you, we all have been affected by COVID in a very extraordinary, ways. And circumstances of life have been impacted, changes in how we meet, changes how we socialize, changes in how we shop. And I think during lockdown, it's been quite a time that was very trying, especially on families, and the impact that has had on children, especially, and families, has been quite extraordinarily. And you could see that, children's lives are unsettled, they are anxious, they are so afraid and fearful. And, children by nature are people who are social, animals. They want to go out, they want to play, they want to meet their peers, and to understand that they cannot be able to do that for a considerable long period of time. That's really brought a lot of pressure in families. Families were locked, in their homes for quite a long time. But we are so grateful as an agency to our carers who, in all this period, have been involved in the support of children. And 24 hours, they've been teachers, they've been doctors, not really prescribing medicine, but really looking after and ensuring and being creative in ensuring that they can get in touch and contact and get support and offer, children, stability of placements. And that's been quite huge. And I should say that in this very unsettling time, there is quite need, for foster carers. And I think, Heavens, you would agree with me, and that at this point in time, there is quite need for people to really look and explore fostering as a possible option of career and role, because there's quite really need, for that. And talk me through and how really we can be of help in regard to that.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned there's too many things happening, Ephraim. First is the pressure on the family.
Yes.
When COVID started, I remember very well when COVID started, the amount of panic that I had. And, there was nobody who was immune. It seems like, there was pandemonium everywhere. People were, shopping everything in the, clearing all the shelves, and
Yeah.
it was just a very peculiar, something that I've never witnessed before.
Exactly.
So, it brought in a lot of fear. There was a lot of panic, a lot of anxiety, because so many people have also lost their lives as well.
Definitely, and unfortunately.
It's been such a trying time. And,
So
the amount of pressure that it puts on families, especially guardians and children in particular, because children have had to be stuck in the house for a long time.
Yeah.
That in itself changes the dynamics of families, and it brings in all the, social problems that probably have not really been, they were just seething somewhere under. So you end up with a crisis where, family breakdowns kick in almost immediately as a result of the pressure that is on families. So, yes, so I think there is such a huge need now, because you find that a lot of children start going into care as a result of, problems that are emanating from the family unit itself, breaking down, or parents, trying to find solace in alcohol, they're trying to, substance abuse. Everybody's trying to keep their head above the water.
Yes.
And very little attention sometimes is put on the children.
Yeah.
And if there is any attention at all, it's probably just, venting out on the kids, and that brings a lot of challenges. So I think fostering really it has never really been an important of greater importance than now. I think we now really need a lot of people who can actually offer support to children who need foster care. And you know what? There's a lot of children who are already in foster care, and because of the challenges that they've also been having in the lockdown season, placements, they break down, and then they have to go to new homes as well. So there is constantly a need for new foster carers who can support uh, children all over the UK.
And saying that, Heavens, it's what we are as an agents ourselves, to ensure that we can be able to provide advice and provide information, and especially for those that want to be able to make a difference, as foster carers, during this particular time. And anyone who wants to be able to engage in fostering during this time, it's people who really want to make a difference. People who want to use their own experience, which they have obtained. Most people are parents like yourself. You've got children, and you've got a huge experience. And there are people just like you who perhaps because of COVID, their life circumstances have changed. And they now, some of them perhaps are thinking, what is it that I can be able to do? And we are here to say, there is a way in which, as long as you care passionately about children, as long as you want to provide safety and stability to children, and there is a role in which you can be actually, share your life stories. Most of you are role models in sports, in art. Most of you are role models, and in how you yourself have overcome, challenges. And because of COVID, it has brought in a lot of challenges, particularly with children. And I think that, we have had stories of the increase of domestic violence, and children now, because of the instability in homes, they become most vulnerable. And this is why I think, Evans, you agree with me, that's why we actually need people to really think about foster care, as an option in their life.
Totally agree, and I like the fact that you mentioned that, it's not only the pressure on families, the rise in domestic violence, but you did allude to the fact that a lot of people have also been laid off. A lot of people have lost their jobs, and there's a lot of people who probably have never ever considered care for children, or foster care as a career option, because foster carers, we view them as professionals. It's a professional a job, because the level of support that you give is of high quality, high standard. So I think it's a season where some people who are watching us right now, and you are not going to work, and you're thinking, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? I was maybe working in the hotel industry for a while. I was in aviation for a while, and I think I've reached the end of the line. We had to say, hey, it's not the end of the road. Maybe fostering could be the path for you. And and there's a lot of people who are also watching who have been thinking about fostering for a long time.
Yes.
You've always been trying to look, putting it off. Maybe I'll do it next year. I'll do it next year. But hey, this could be the time that you can get yourself into fostering. You can jump in and see, what lies ahead, and we can support you through that journey. And
then that's why you see that during the week of fostering fortnight, we actually are spending every week, coming and sharing the experiences of Banya, providing viewers and listeners the opportunity to understand that there is an opportunity to be able to make a difference. If you find yourself that perhaps you don't have your way of life as it used to be, you can turn it around by looking at other options. And this is another way that you can be able to make a difference, gainfully being able to sustain yourself, but equally at the same time make a difference. So carers are needed now than ever before, especially with how life has been changed due to this pandemic. And there is something that people actually say that one of the things that COVID has done is to shed more light into the need of each other now, the need of family, importance, the need of valuing relationships, the importance of being of each other's neighbor, the need of ensuring that we need to care for one another, and we need to be able to shed, a love for one another. I think that has been quite apparent, especially this time. People that have not perhaps looked at each other, they have stopped, life just came to a halt and stopping, even in families, people who used to be able not to value each other have suddenly, staying in the home for a long time, began to value each other. And I think you have experienced that as well, happens, isn't it?
Yeah, tell me about it. Yeah, and part of what happens, initially when the crisis hits, especially something of the magnitude of COVID, the first thing is you think about yourself.
Exactly.
People by nature, we are just selfish by nature. So we think of, okay, how can I survive this? And then when you've noticed that, oh, I'm surviving, I think I'm okay, you start realizing, oh, actually, I can't survive alone. I need my family, I need my friends, I need all the people around me. I need to make sure they're safe, and it then goes beyond. So we're saying, hey, let's go even further now and say, hey, how can we all survive? How can we all make it? And in particular, children. Those of you who are passionate about children, it's always been something that you're concerned about. This is the time that you can actually be, make that difference. A time where you can actually intentionally take that step and say, hey, what is it that I can do? Maybe you have been a professional all your life. You've always been busy doing other things, and now your life is slowing down. Your kids have grown up. They've left the house. You now have that that freedom, that extra time. Maybe this is the time where you now need to look beyond yourself and say, hey, what is it that I can do to impart some of the experiences that I have? Maybe you are a professional in education, maybe you're semi-retired. This is the time where you can take your experiences and impart that into a child who needs care. And this is the time for you to consider fostering, especially with Banya.
Exactly. I wouldn't agree with you more than what you have just said, Heavens, there. And this is why becoming a carer at this time is much more important, because there is need for those that can be able to help vulnerable children, especially because of the effects of COVID. Mental health issues have gone up, domestic violence cases have gone up, and children who are suffering neglect have gone up. The rates of abuse, have gone up just because of the pressure that is within homes, unable to manage, emotions and able to manage the anxiety and the fears, and also the economic, the social impact that it has, brought on communities. And that's why, if you are passionate of making a difference, and that's why I've also loved this saying that somebody said that a life lived, for itself is not worth anything, but a life that is lived for making somebody's life, different, is worthy, is significant. So in the end, I think what COVID does demonstrate is that we are all equal. And whether you are rich, educated or not, we are all human beings in the end who just need love, you just need, somebody to smile at you. And I think the need of somebody saying just hello has been very critical at this time, just missing that hug. And I think people have realized the importance of warmth, and have realized the importance of care. And Now think about, how that, is in the lives of children. And that's why becoming a foster carer is huge, and it's very important.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think you've spoken well, and I think those values of providing warmth, providing love, providing care, you know, uh, providing a safe environment where children can thrive. It's so important, and there are many people who are watching us right now
Yeah,
who have got those qualities.
exactly.
Resilient. I always say that if there's one word that encapsulates foster care, good foster care is resilient.
Yeah,
Anyone who has children, that you need to have a certain level of, you need to be able to suffer long,
yeah, yeah,
elastic, and as you do that, you begin to, the children they respond, to that kind of approach, and you can
yeah.
have such a huge impact in the lives of children.
Exactly, and I like Nyasha saying in our agency, and she says it very perfectly, and in her own words, and I quote, she says, "We are not looking for perfect people to foster. We are just looking for ordinary people, people who just who live a normal life. We are not looking for some people who perhaps you think, do I need to be all made it all." Nothing, missing, nothing broken. You just need to be a human being who loves children, and
Absolutely.
who cares for children. And whether you are single, whether you are of any particular sex orientation, as long as you own or rent a house and you've got space, you can foster. Isn't that so, Heavens?
Absolutely. I think people always have different. I think people have heard. Some people have had different experiences or information about fostering, but really, it really comes down to the things that you mentioned. From
Yeah,
space.
yeah,
I've met a lot of foster people, families who really want to foster. They have
yeah.
a great desire to foster, and the challenges have always been to do with space. They don't have enough space, but they've
Mhm.
got a big heart. But then there are also people who are watching who have got that space, and
Yeah.
they've never thought about, hey, I could actually support a child. I could actually look after a child here, and
Mhm.
hey, this is the time to think about it. And space, time is very important, Ifrit,
Mhm.
because children need time. You need time to support them through education, take them to school runs, for example, attend meetings, all sorts of things. Go take them to the dentist, just like you would do with your own child, you
Mhm.
know. And statutory meetings, all those things are things that need time. So suppose if you work, maybe you're saying, hey, I work, I've got a full-time job,
Mhm.
so I can't foster. Well,
Yeah,
it's still possible to foster.
of
You can
course.
you can be flexible, especially if you are flexible. You can reduce your work time and balance your time for work, and to make sure you've got enough time to dedicate to fostering. So yeah, everybody can be able to be a good foster carer, especially those who say, hey, I don't know anything about children, I don't know anything about fostering. You are the perfect candidate because you're a blank canvas. We can support you and give you the right information from the start.
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
become amazing foster care.
And I think it's important that you can be part of this great conversation and part of the great change, and ensuring that you meet the gap that is missing of the need of foster carers. And in the Banya's long experience of being in this work for over now, 2 decades, and having looked after, supported carers look after more than 7,000 children, and children have, most of them, become part of a great change, even extraordinarily achieved great things in their lives. And who
Mm.
knows what you can be able to, make a change in the life of somebody, life. A child with a huge potential, they're just looking for a place. They're just looking for somebody who can cuddle, who can smile at them, and who can tell them that you can be able to be somebody in your own life. So I think it's very important. Now, people wonder, what really do I need? What is it that I don't need? And I think we debugged this issue during, fostering fortnight when Nyasha talked about fostering myth. And we just need to emphasize that even during this time of COVID, you just need to be, a normal human being. You don't need to think that if I'm single, do I qualify to foster? And you, Evans, you work quite well in the front line of recruitment, and you meet this day to day in your work. Despite us as senior managers supporting you, having to provide strategy and resources to ensure that that is achieved. Just talk us through about that.
Well, the assessment process itself is quite straightforward. It can be slightly long, not because of anything, but because we have to make sure that we're not rushing you through the process. And that's very important for us because we don't want to make people feel rushed. Our approach to recruitment is that of support, because we realize that most of the people that we meet who want to get into fostering, it's something that they've been thinking about for a long time.
Exactly.
And we realize that these people actually have lives. They are professionals. They are, and they really want to get into fostering. So our approach to recruitment is to say, okay, tell us where you are, show us where you live. Let's have a conversation around your house. Let's see your space. The free spaces that you've got. We make sure that the right kind of spaces. We have meetings, initial meetings, where we give you, we talk just like we're doing now. Just give you as much information as you need, because we don't assume that everybody knows about fostering. So most of the people that I meet personally, they don't know much. So I take a lot of time really giving them a lot of information, describe to them the different types of fostering, how it works, how Banya supports, and the kind of options they have, especially if they are working, and that information is critical to give you, the ability to make decisions about what you want to do, whether it's time now or later, or do you want to go ahead and do it. And we like to see people jump into it anyway, but so the assessment itself is very straightforward. But we take you through stages, obviously. Nicely, just ticking all the boxes, making sure you are happy, you are ready for the next stage. So we've got the initial stage, which is just about visiting you, understanding your family dynamics, and then the next stage where we're now doing checks, local checks, references, your medicals, and we also do your DBS, your police check. All those things are necessary for us to make sure that you are the right kind of person that we're looking for. And we support you through that. We pay for all those things. So just to show you how dedicated we are to making sure that we support you through. So the process itself is very straightforward, and we work with you and your family to make sure that you're fully supported, and everybody who is part of your family joins and taking you through the last stage where you can then be approved as a
And that's also emphasizing the fact that the whole approach is to contextualize it within how you yourself can fit in, and how can you, because of your family side, because of your situation, how can you be able to ensure that you can foster. So there are different types of fostering available to you, emergency fostering, short-term fostering, long-term fostering, short breaks, which we call sometimes respite, and there are parent and child specialist kind of fostering, where you offer a speciality, and where you get in-depth training to perhaps offer children support with those with some special needs, with living with disabilities. So it's all contextualizing it, fitting it within your particular context. So you don't need to be worried to say, does my lifestyle really match with fostering? All you need to do is try, call us, let's have a conversation, and you never know where that can actually lead you to in order for you to be able to make a difference. One thing that is important is that, government enacted legislation which is, COVID-19, the coronavirus 2020 legislation, and that gives us flexibility in ensuring that we can be able to deliver statutory, duties to all our foster carers, and in managing the risks of vulnerable children, and also how we provide support to our children and to our foster carers as well, how we support you, how we work with you. And even during this COVID, Banya has been creative in ensuring that we still meet our statutory obligations, and making placements and caring for children, even in these particular trying times, offering, PPEs, ensuring that all the issues that are required by our foster carers, providing extra support, 24/7 through our telephone support, online support, weekends, night, duties that we take. So, as far as we are concerned, Banya is there to offer you advice, to offer you support, signpost you to other, agencies that can help and listen to you. We also have got specialists, professionals who can offer you counseling and who can be able to listen to you, particularly during this time of COVID, where people were quite anxious and also fearful about what is it that can happen. And there's still much more to that. And as a practitioner myself, that's what I live to see day to day. And I think it's important that you don't need to be anxious as to how this can be able to do and to impact in your own life. Banya is with you every step of the way, isn't it so, Heavens?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, our motto is a sense of belonging. So it's not just about the children that we look after, giving them a sense of belonging, family support. It's also about the people that we work with, our foster carers, especially the Banya staff, all the professionals within Banya. We love to work, as a family, as a team, supporting one another, because it's what we do. When we support one another in the workplace, we're able to provide excellent support for our children. That therapeutic approach that we have in the workplace also extends to our children, whom we support. So yes, this is a special time to consider really becoming part of this, outstanding family.
Yeah. And that, saying it all and ending it on this note, and saying to you, you being part of this conversation, you can decide today. Today can be the beginning of an amazing journey of your life. That when you look at it, yes, you would say that on that day, I decided to make a difference, and you can actually, Banya can just make it possible, for you to realize that. And all what we do, from senior management team to all our practitioners, all our admin staff, everything else, the whole system is all there focused to just ensure that, the foster carers, the child is actually making a difference, and their needs are actually being met. And it has been great having you, and we value your time. Should you decide to be part, to hear more, even to hear much more about, whether this can be something that you can somehow consider, please get in touch with us. We've got our 800 number, and I'll give you now 800 numbers, and 989 0135. I repeat again, 0800 989-0135. And you can email us at joinus@banya.co.uk. And we are found on all social media platforms to just make you our presence to be more visible and for you to be able to start an amazing journey in your life. It has been great having you. Thank you, Heavens, for being part of this conversation. I really enjoyed it. Have a good day.